Right, let's have a look at some work on mean on average. The way that we're going to work these through is we're going to use a lot of our reasoning work here, but we also need to be really aware of and have a good understanding of what mean means, what the definition of average is. If I take a set of numbers, for example, if I take the numbers 2, 5, 3, 7 and 4, okay, I have a set of numbers here. I can rearrange them, I can put them in size order. I can go 2, 3, 4, 5, 7, okay, but to work out the average, what I need to do is I need to know how many of the numbers there are. So here I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 numbers. I have 5 different sets, I have 5 different data points here, okay. I need to add all of them up first of all, so I need to do 2 plus 3 plus 4 plus 5 plus 7, which will give me the answer of 21. Okay, that's my total if I add up all of these numbers here. So that gives me my total, it doesn't give me my mean. My mean, though, I have to take 21 and I have to divide it by 5. Okay, now 21 divided by 5 is not going to give me a whole number. I know that because 21 is not a multiple of 5, but I can work that out. That's quite reasonably straightforward to do that. I know that I have 4 wholes in 21 and I'd have 1 remainder, so I could have 4 remainder 1, but we know that to turn a remainder into a decimal I can just put that over a decimal point in zeros and I can get my answer of 4.2 as my average, as my mean here. So if I add all of these numbers up and divide them by how many there are, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, I get my mean of 4.2. Okay, so my average is that's how I work that out. Really important to know. Okay, so we have here 3 apples have a mean average mass of 100 grams. So I'm going to give myself 3 apples. 1, 2, 3. We don't know how heavy each apple is. We don't know the mass of each apple, but we know that on average they're 100 grams. And if I have 3 of them, that means I can say, well, if they were all the average mass, they would all be 100 grams. So the first one would be 100 grams here. And then my next ones would be 100 grams too. So that would be 100 grams, and that would be 100 grams, because that's the average mass, and there are 3 of them. That would be my total mass of my apples would be here, would be 300 grams. Like that, if we worked on the average, and that's how that works. I don't know the mass of the individuals, but on average they're 100 grams, which means the total mass of my 3 apples has to be 300 grams. Now it says the largest apple is removed. Okay, so now I only have 2 apples. Okay, and now we can think about what this tells us. So the largest one, so that means they're not all the same mass, and the largest one is removed, which then means that the average mass, the mean mass of these, is now 70 grams. So again, by drawing this, I'm going to get a good idea of what actually is going on here. So I have 70 grams here and 70 grams here, because that's the average mass, or the mean mass of my 2 remaining apples. That means that my total remaining mass has to be 170 and 170, so my total remaining mass is 140 grams. Okay, so my average has decreased because I've taken out quite a chunky apple from here, and my mean has gone down from 100 to 70. Okay, that must mean that the apple that I've taken out is responsible for that. So what I need to do is I need to compare my 2 total masses from my means, so 300 to 140, and the difference between those 2 is going to be the mass of the apple that I've removed. So that means that the mass of the apple that's been removed is 160 grams. Question 2a is down here. Okay, so the arrow below points to the mean of the 3 numbers shown by the crosses. So let's look at this and think about what we did before. I had 1 plus 2 plus 6. 1 plus 2 plus 6 equals 9. Okay, 9 divided by the number of numbers there are, or number of crosses there are rather, which is 3. 9 divided by 3 gives me a mean of 3. And what that means here is that's pointing to my mean here of 3, which is why the arrow is there, because the total of those crosses, 9, divided by how many there are, 3, gives me the mean, 3. Okay? A says to draw an arrow that points to the mean of the 3 numbers below. So what I need to do is I need to do 5 plus 14 plus 17, which is going to give me an answer of 36. Okay? So now I have my 5 plus 14 plus 17, that gives me my total of 36. Okay, now I have 3 numbers here, which means if I want to find the mean, I need to divide by how many crosses I have. I've got 3 crosses, so to find the mean, I divide 36 by 3, which gives me an answer of 12. Which means that my arrow to point to my mean has to go there, because 12 is the mean of these 3 numbers here. If I add 5 and 14 and 17, I get 36. I divide 36 by the number of crosses I have, 3, gives me 12 as an answer. That is my mean. B says the arrow below points to the mean of 3 numbers. One of the numbers is missing. Draw a cross to show the position of the missing number. This way, I'm going to work it backwards, a little bit like I did with the apples. Okay, so for the apples, if I was told that the mean mass was 100 grams here, I knew that if I did however many there were, 3 apples times 100 grams mean mass, I would get my total mass. I can do a similar thing with the numbers here. So I have a mean of 3 numbers, which is 3. Okay, so that means the average of my 3 numbers is 3. So if I have 3 numbers and they were 3, 3 and 3, that would give me my total of 9. Now obviously the numbers aren't 3, 3 and 3, but the total is still going to be 9 because I have 3 numbers and the mean is 9. 3 times 3 is 9. So if you want to find the total from an average, you do the average multiplied by however many sets you have. So I have my mean of 3, my average of 3. I have 3 numbers. 3 times 3 is 9. Okay? Then all I need to do is I need to work out what I've already got. I've got 6 and negative 4. Now 6 plus negative 4 is actually going to give me... Sorry about the dog. 6 plus negative 4 is actually going to give me an answer of here 2. Okay, now the missing number is whatever's left between my numbers that I've got my total so far and my actual total, which is 9. So the difference there is going to be 7. So that is where I need to draw my cross for my missing number here. Okay. Question number 3. Megan goes on a walking holiday for 5 days. The table showed how far she walked for the first 4 days. Megan says my average for the first 4 days is more than 15 kilometers. Explain why she is correct. With all of these, you don't need to do a massive written explanation. You just need to do the calculation to explain this. Always the simplest way to do this. So all I would do here is I'll just work out the average for those first 4 days. 14 plus 23 plus 13 plus 13 is going to give you the total distance that she has walked in those first 3 days, which is going to give you the total distance of 63 kilometers. Okay, now if I have 4 days and I have a total, I can work out the average for each day by taking my total, 63, and dividing it by 4. Okay, so if I do 63 divided by 4, I'd probably use a formal method, bus stop for that. That's going to give me an answer of 15 remainder 3, or as a decimal, 15.75. Let's just dropped off the page there. Okay, and so what I would then just say for that is, so that's the mean, and then all you need to say is that that's greater than 15, so she's correct. Okay, so at the moment she's at 15 remainder 3, or 15.75 kilometers per day on average. Okay, which means that if that's what she walked each day, she would get the same total as what she has got for these 4 days. So work out my total divided by the number of days gives me the mean. Friday's her last day and she wants to increase her average to 17 kilometers. How many kilometres must she walk on Friday? Okay, so what we need to know is how much she's walked already, which is 63 kilometres. So I'm just going to pop that up here just to remind me. That's what she's got for 4-day total. Now, if we think about this almost like the apples, so we've got, she wants her average to be 17, and she's going to have walked for 5 days, which means that each day the total is going to be, it will give you an average of 17 kilometres. So that it doesn't mean that she walked that far in these days, but that's how far she wants her average for each day to be, which means she's probably going to need to increase her daily distance for the final day in order to bring her total higher, which is going to give her an average for each day of 17 kilometres. Okay, so that would mean that Monday was 17, Tuesday was 17, Wednesday was 17, Thursday was 17, and Friday was 17. Obviously, that's not the case, but she can make her average for each day 17 by increasing her daily distance on the final day. So if she had walked an average of 17 kilometres on each day, that would mean she had walked a total of 85 kilometres over the week, because that is 17 multiplied by 5, which gives you 85. Currently, she's only walked 63 kilometres in total, and that was up to Thursday. So if I put that in, up to Thursday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, she'd walked 63 kilometres. If she wants her average to be 17 kilometres on each day, she needs to walk a total of 85 kilometres in 5 days, because 85 divided by 5 is 17. Okay, that means that on the final day, she's going to have to walk 22 kilometres, not 22 kilometres. I don't know why it says that. Oh, kilograms, sorry. That's obviously wrong. So if she's at 63, she wants to get to a total of 85. To give her an average of 17, she has to walk a further 22 kilometres on the final day. Okay, just over half marathon distance as well. So that will take her some time. Okay, question number 4 is about Carol counting matches in matchboxes. Carol has obviously found herself getting quite bored during isolation and has run out of other things to do. She works out that the mean number of matches in a box is 51. Okay, so let's look at the key information here. 10 boxes, the mean is 51. Okay, here are the results for 9 boxes. She's not filled in the 10th box. That's bad record keeping, Carol. Okay, so the question here is asking us how many matches are in the 10th box. Unsurprising. So, in a similar way to these, if that means I had, let's put in a matchbox. Let's have a little matchbox like that. Lovely. Okay, so what this is essentially saying is that if they were all the same, the mean number, I keep grabbing the wrong thing, the mean number would be 51 matches per matchbox, but she obviously has between, kind of, it looks like here, between 49 and 54. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, don't do that, 7, 8, 9, 10. So there's 10 matchboxes there. Okay, and she's saying that on average they have 51 matches in, which would give me a total, which means that if each one of these boxes is 51, and I've got 10 of them, that's going to actually give me a total of 510 matches in total. That's what we're looking for, total number of 510. That's really key. Now, what I need to do is I need to work out how many matches she has here, in the ones that she's counted, in 9 boxes, and then that, I can use that number and my total number of 510 to work out how many matches must be in the 10th box. So what I'm going to need to do here is I'm going to need to do some calculations. So I'm going to need to do some things like such as 49 times 3, which is going to give me an answer of 147. I need to do 50 times 2, which is going to give me 100. And then I've got to add to that 51, and then I need to add to that 52, and then I need to add to that 108, because that is 54 multiplied by 2. Okay, that's going to give me those numbers there. I need to add all of those up, and that's going to give me a total of 458 matches in total that Carol has counted. Okay, good way to spend your day. If you find yourself getting bored, go and count some matchboxes, or matches in matchboxes rather. Okay, so that means here we have our total 510, and we have how many we have in 9 boxes. Okay, so if I want to work out how many must be in the final box, I need to do 510 subtract 458 to find the difference, and the difference is going to be the number that's in the final box, which means that actually the number of matches that are in the final box is 52. Okay, and then we have Vicky. Vicky puts 10 books on a shelf. The 10 books take up 28 centimetres. I like it when they put in numbers such as tens or hundreds, things like that. Makes it very easy to work with, to use our place value knowledge. Okay, so the books take up 28 centimetres on a shelf. Question over here. What is the mean or the average thickness of her books? So that's as straightforward as doing 28 divided, I don't have to write, so I'm going to use that sign, divided by 10, which is straightforward. It's going to give me an answer of 2.8 centimetres. Really straightforward question, that, for 2 marks. Lovely job. I take the total thickness, 28 centimetres. I take the number of books, 10, and I divide the total by the number of books to find the mean, 2.8. So 28 divided by 10 is 2.8. Lovely. The shelf is 120 centimetres long, and Vicky fills the shelf with a mixture of books like the first 10 books. Now, because it says she fills the shelf with a mixture of books like the first 10 books, what this question is telling you is that actually that 10 books take up 28 centimetres. Okay, which means that the books on average are 2.8 centimetres wide each. Okay. Now, there's a couple of different ways that you can solve this question, but I'm just going to look at this. Estimate how many books you can fit onto the 120 centimetre shelf. Now, it's an estimate, which means it doesn't have to be precise, it doesn't need to be pinpoint accurate. You'll get the answer correct if you do it pinpoint accurate, and that's absolutely fine, but you can estimate it, and you can make this a whole lot simpler for yourself. So, it says here that 10 books take up 28 centimetres. Okay, well, I'm just going to estimate, I'm going to round that up to 30 centimetres. And then if I look at what I've got here, I've got a 120 centimetre long shelf, and I've estimated that 10 books will take up 30 centimetres. So 30 centimetres equals 10 books. Well, then it's just a case of how many lots of 30 I can get into 120, which is 4. And I have 4 lots of 10 books, which are going to give me 40 books. Now, I know, because I've estimated that the books take up slightly more space than they actually do, that 40 is going to be a low estimate, and actually I'll be able to fit more books on the shelf. But that's an estimate. That's how it works, and that will get you the marks for this one. Okay, because 2.8 is so close to 3, or 28 is so close to 30, I can round it, and that makes it an estimate, and that's key. Okay, you can of course work this out by doing 120 divided by 2.8, and you can work that through, and that will give you an answer of 42.86 if you round it, or 42.9, but then obviously you can't get 0.9 of a book on there, so if you rounded that up to 43, you still get the answer there. You can of course do 120 divided by 28, and then multiply it by 10 to get that back up and get a similar answer there as well. But because it says estimate, you can save yourself a whole heap of time just by working it through that way. Okay, I hope that helps. Good luck with the mean and the average.